Thank you so much for joining us, Sophia. What a lovely way to start our interview. I know I've been chasing you around for quite a bit. I always follow you on LinkedIn, and I think you just have such interesting views about what's happening in our industry, specifically supply chain. I know you are a supply chain expert, but tell us a little bit more and tell our audience more, what do you do and how do you fit into this industry?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think my journey has evolved. I originally study industrial engineering, and then I experienced um, some roles in manufacturing and operations, and very close to where the action happened. Then I moved to sales and operations planning in retail and e-commerce, and that gave me more perspective. I mean, I did handle warehouse operations as well, but I think like having a role or experiencing what is it being to do a forecast, or to what it is to do planning, that's very important in our supply chain careers. And then now my current role is very focused on network design and optimization, and looking at the whole network and finding ways to make it better in terms of maybe cost reductions or CO2 emission reductions. But yeah, basically that's what I have been doing in the industry so far.
We've got those political interference in other countries. We've got the Red Sea issue. How do you think we can adapt our supply chain to make sure that we are more prepared next time and that we have actually better systems in place for something that happens on a big scale, like what's happening now, disrupting the flow of logistics?
Yeah, well, I think like right now, what most companies are focusing on is how can they shorten a little bit more their supply chain so that the risk of long distances isn't there anymore. And I think that's what has brought us to what we are seeing in nearshoring, and looking for additional facilities from where to source your product. And well, thankfully that's a great opportunity for Mexico and Latin American countries to step up and provide these kind of solutions and capabilities. And I think additionally, what companies are doing is how taking a look into their portfolio and really understanding which products are their best sellers, or how can they introduce new products in a faster but more efficient way, looking at perhaps more neutral packaging so that the launch is faster, and maybe you can use that packaging if you change the product regardless of um, yeah, regardless if it's different. But yeah, I think those things are some of the strategies that we're doing and seeing for being more resilient to these type of changes.
And I mean, we're all talking about AI and how it is just evolving all and making our work easier. But it's also that thin line about playing it safe as well, making sure that it's responsible and reliable. How do you see AI moving into this as well and playing a strategic role in making sure that we get where we need to go and move forward, but in a safe way?
I think AI is not moving fast enough in our industry within supply chain, and I do understand the risk of perhaps these terms of confidentiality or cybersecurity. But I think we need to be more agile in implementing and a little bit less afraid of what AI can do in our industry. There is tons of potential, especially in forecasting and planning, and we're not jumping into it because we're still waiting on regulations, or perhaps waiting on someone who has already tested it and see if it works or not. But when that time comes, then it will be too late for us. So I think it's just a matter of taking a leap of faith and start experimenting with it. Otherwise, I think we'll be left behind.
Are you using AI a lot in your profession?
Not really. I think I wish I could use it more. I'm cursing a master's on AI because I want to stay ahead. But I think like it all depends on, yeah, on your company, on where you are. and also the flexibility of for that usage, right?
When we look at sustainability, that is also something that is a big talking point at the moment. What do you see supply chain practices should do? How should we evolve so we can address these environmental concerns as we all work to those zero carbon emission targets?
Well, definitely, and I think that's something we're still lagging behind is understanding what is our impact, the dimensioning it and measuring it. That's something we have not been good at as an industry. Some companies are doing way better than others, and I would suggest going to them and reaching out for collaboration and understanding how did they do this journey, how have they, yeah, which challenges did they face, and mostly, yeah, taking on best practices that they have already done. But apart from identifying how much negative impact have we done to the environment, I think the standardization of reporting is key. Right now, there are different ways to report our CO2 emissions or our water usage, and I think like overall we need to start sticking to some kind of standard, maybe the GHG, or defining which one is better, but definitely uh, finding ways to do that because later on it will be easier to compare among industries, to compare within our company and our partners to see if we're doing better or worse than X period of time. But yeah, that would be easier. And yeah,
Yeah. And it's also making sure that there's this accountability. There should be policies and regulations in place to make sure that
yeah.
we are accountable for this.
And
I
I
want to move.
think
Yeah.
Sorry, I think that thankfully regulations are coming. We're seeing it not only, I mean, Europe is very advanced in their regulations, but the US and other North American countries are also pushing towards different regulations that at the end will become external factors that are pushing companies to attain to certain standards.
Yeah. I want to turn our focus quickly to online shopping, specifically when it comes to the Gen Z market. Now, we know that
Yeah.
social commerce is a huge thing. I know you also talk about that on LinkedIn a lot. What shifts do you think must businesses make to embrace this new era? I mean, our viewers and our community, people are actually, they don't always know how to incorporate, how to accommodate Gen Z, and they are actually the biggest social commerce market out there. Things are changing, the trends are changing. We see the statistics, we see the surveys. What advice do you have?
I think definitely companies have not leveraged this new way of doing marketing and of doing their sales. And because sometimes I feel maybe it's foreseen as something that it's informal, something that it's not the standard way of doing things, or um, yeah, I think it's very new to have perhaps different people around the world talking about your product, reviewing it, and sharing their experience with it. But I think this is very valuable. And it's valuable for Gen Z, for also Generation Alpha, which is the next one, because that's the way they shop. I mean, they don't go and Google which product is best or the other. They go and check on TikTok who says if which product they should buy or not. And I think this is very interesting and it should be more explored in terms of, okay, how can I leverage these social media celebrities, social media influencers that are talking about my product in a way that I can perhaps use it for demand shaping or for, yeah, sharing more sustainable practices for consuming, right? I think this has not been explored and nor exploited by the big companies, and it's an opportunity for them to actually to do.
Yeah. And by that, it's not something as simple as, create a TikTok account. I think many people think just create a
No,
TikTok account and be more, do marketing on TikTok. That is not how you capture the Gen Z generation. It's like you
No,
said,
and I
personalization,
think,
and and that's how you capture that.
yeah, you don't need to create your own group of social media influencers. They already exist, so it's reaching out to them and leveraging the ones that are already there, and actually people, yeah, consumers of your brand, not just like employees from your brand.
Yeah. How do you anticipate the last mile logistics to meet the growing demand of e-commerce? Where do you think it's going to go? I mean, we talk about robot deliveries, we talk about drone deliveries, all of those things. It's actually creating, it's moving very fast at the moment. What do you see? How do you see it's going to evolve in the next few years?
I think we have been very focused on specifically that last mile, and very focused on the speed of transportation. I think the next step and what we've seen is how can we reduce the warehousing processing time? So how can we be faster at the warehouse so that we meet our clients' expectations, right? So not only looking at the network and positioning ourselves very close to our end customer, but also focusing on within our warehouses in our facilities, what are the things that the inefficiencies that can be cut down to actually be faster. And I think this has been the focus, for example, for Amazon and Mercado Libre and these big companies on e-commerce. And additionally, I think the next thing is understanding, and I think a lot of people are struggling with this, but understanding where to position which item at which location so that it can be sold.
Yeah.
So that's basically inventory optimization, but
Mm.
that's something that a lot are looking at and looking for solutions and capabilities as well.
Yeah. Last question I want to talk to you about is next month it is International Women's Day, and as a woman in this space, we know it's predominantly still male dominated. What do you think should women in this industry do? Supply chain logistics. What should we do to take up our space, our rightful space in this industry?
Yeah, so definitely there's very few women, but thankfully we're getting better, not only just in terms of numbers, but also better in the way we relate to each other. So I think historically has been like, okay, if I'm the only woman, then I'll be just that one and I won't help the next one. And I think
Mm.
this is changing, or it should be changing. And if not, I would recommend starting with you and your peers. So instead of pushing another woman down, lifting them up, that's a key. And yeah, I think this month is, I mean, we're women all year long, right? So
Yeah.
this month is just a reminder of what are we still fighting for in terms of equality and being, yeah, being taken seriously, and also in terms of sorority. So I think that those are the three things that I will tell people or the audience to keep in mind this month.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.